Protesters in Baltimore are calling for another mass demonstration this Friday to coincide with May Day. Marches and rallies are also planned in Oakland, California, and many other cities. Now, on Wednesday night, the National Guard and local riot police failed to enforce a second night of curfew imposed by the mayor of Baltimore. Small groups continue to demonstrate beyond the 10 p.m. deadline. Earlier in the day, hundreds of students took to the streets to demand justice for Freddie Gray, the 25-year-old black male who died from spinal injuries sustained while in police custody. Baltimore police also announced that they will not be releasing a report on Gray's death. And New York also saw a large rally in solidarity with Baltimore on Wednesday. The police arrested as many as 100 protesters after thousands gathered in Union Square calling for justice over the death of Freddie Gray. New York was also the site of mass protests over Eric Garner's death, who died while being arrested by police in August. As with many other cases, a grand jury in that case decided not to indict the officer who choked Garner to death.
Kill us in the street, they tell us to ignore it. They kill us in the street, they tell us to be peaceful. So I'm just here because I'm tired of it. And so I felt like I needed to take to the streets.
I think that when you have a system that is bent on making people fight for their own survival and fight for their own sense of worth, that you inevitably have an uprising of people saying, no, we're worth more than this.
I think that there's a lack of accountability. When they're kill minorities, there's no repercussions, so there's just a hierarchy where some lives aren't valued as much as other lives, and it's just a racism built into the system.
And as this story continues to develop, our correspondent Clayton Kahn is in Baltimore following the latest.
Various cities throughout the United States, including here in Baltimore, New York, Washington, Boston, and Ferguson, saw protests last evening against police brutality and the death of 25-year-old Freddie Gray, who, as we know, died in Baltimore police custody earlier in the month. Now, it was reported that in New York, at least 60 people were detained during the mostly nonviolent protests. And here in Baltimore, no major incidents occurred as the city remains besieged by 3,000 elements of the National Guard and police, who enforced for a second night in a row a curfew. Meanwhile, after pressure from rights defenders and lawyers, Baltimore authorities released 100 of 200 people who were detained on Monday night's protests due to the fact that the citizens were not given due process or formally charged. The governor, Larry Hogan, has declared a state of emergency at the beginning of the week, stripping those detained of their habeas corpus, which guarantees a prisoner's right to challenge an unlawful arrest. This is Clayton Kahn reporting for Telesur here in Baltimore City.